Hello, folks. Wow, what? Been a while. I have to say, it's been a while. And glad to be here, folks, here on Flying with Mike. Would have been here on schedule this week. Just a lot going on that had my mind and body elsewhere that would have been detrimental here. So I chose to take one of those days to just try to get myself back in order. So anyway, we are on the deck here in Offutt at Offutt Air Force Base up in Nebraska. You may have heard of this place, especially those of you who lived in the Cold War years up until 1992 when the Cold War ended. That being between the United States and the Ruskies, or as we call it, the Soviet Union, although not to risk an international incident, might still be. But anyway, we are just going to fly a nice little training hop for Simulated Air Force down to MidAmerica Airport where I work. We might have time to shoot some approaches and all, but we'll kind of see what happens. Well, I've seen we've gone to commercial break, so I'm going to hold off getting the plane powered up. Well, it's powered up, but you'll see where we'll start here in a second. But again, thanks to the subscribers who are here. Really appreciate you and look forward to some new ideas, new things coming. Got to check into something. Came into my email box yesterday or the day before. I'm so lost, folks. You're lucky I even got the right day on the post out on Discord. So, but anyway, again, thanks for your support. It really means a lot to me. So, the rest of the group should be joining in, and there we go. Hope you've all had a great week. It's hump day, as the Geico commercial here in the U.S. says. Mike, 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 Mike. Google it if you've never seen the Geico hump day commercials. They are, I have to admit, of course, I'm a Mike, so what can I say? But it is fun. All right, folks. So here, now let me kind of explain what you're seeing. Yes, it's the E3 with the military livery here. However, because of many problems I've had with different updates with Felis and all, I have not done all of the mods that come with the download for this. So I've kept it pretty well, just your basic Felis 747-200 without putting in the E3 additions, which would be refueling up here. There's a hump that goes here and other things to make it look more like if you've ever seen it in real life. You'll then go, yep, that's an E3. So actually, there's debate E3, E4. So, matter of fact, we just had one of these. Guy I worked with showed me pictures a couple days ago. So, just happened, and they come in, and I haven't figured out why from Offutt, unless maybe he was out on the East Coast. I could understand coming into the Midwest to be able to shoot approaches and all of that. But not Omaha. That one kind of always, because they're based in Omaha. So, but anyway, that's what you have on the line. Let's get up here. Let's see if we can't get flying here really fairly quickly here. There's a lot to it, as you all know with Felis. All right, so here's the cockpit, folks, just to give you a flavor of what we're about to embark on. The 747-200s and the E4A versions were of a three-man cockpit, meaning you had to have a captain, you had to have a co-pilot, you had to have a flight engineer. Beyond that, depends on the loads. Now, this always had people on it, but it was more geared to airborne um, um, communications and command and control when they were doing certain things out there. So they were the eyes, the ears out there. Um, and they watched a lot. Plus, they had other abilities we don't need to go into here, but very important planes. If you're not familiar with Offutt Air Force Base, it was the Strategic Air Command headquarters from the Cold War. That's where all of the nuclear bombers, nuclear missiles, and all, and early warning of such attack coming from Russia filtered into here and their outpost in Colorado. So, and then things world globally went into play when things happened. So, and one of these were always airborne, plus there was a KC, or I'm sorry, C-37 or 137 airborne at all times. This came along a little later in it, so, but they still kept one either on standby or in the air at all times. All right, so let's get into the plane, shall we? So I said we are kind of powered up. Let me show you what I mean. Of course, I have the doors open if you didn't see that out there, but we have the chocks now in place and we have the GPU connected. And that's what I mean we're powered up. So when we come back over here, you're going to see the battery switch thrown, the standby power switch in normal, and our two uh, light indications that we're hooked, that the ground power is hooked to the plane. Then we have to hook the plane or hook that power into the plane's electrical buses. And that's what we've done. So I'm going to continue on here real quick. You can kind of follow along. I'm going to try not doing a narrative because that slows me down, as you can tell. And we're going to try and get everything ready so we can take off here pretty quick. And I will say one thing, if you see the word test, like you see here, 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 and throughout, pretty well should be testing it. Oop. All right, currently we'll show this more so you can see where I get the information. I get it really from SkyVector, folks, what the barometric pressure is. Currently 2971. And this one, you know what? I really should not have said it. I should be at our flight level, which will be flight level 310. That was my bad. I just caught it when I was just going through that. All right, let's head down to the middle panel now.
glide slope, glide slope, pull up, glide slope, glide slope.
All right, folks, that pretty much wrapped up your pre-flight here. What you need to check in cockpit. And like I said, I try not to talk too much here because this airplane takes a lot and I talk a lot. I guess that's why Hawker thought I'd be uh, good at this thing called streaming because I talk a lot. All right. So let us now do a little bit of a pre-flight brief before I program these. Yes, I am not using SIVAs or the LTN in here. They come with the aircraft. That's an additional 30 minutes to 45 minutes of programming, folks. So, I mean, there are shortcuts, but that and I ran into some problems long after I started using them. I don't know what happened. I think I do, but it could never be corrected, so I just stopped using them. And that wasn't Felis. This was 10, 15 years ago. So, and I'm not going to go back. So, we'll use the FMCs. They're perfectly fine. All right, so let's look at this flight real quick. All right, so I'm bringing up Sim Toolkit. That's what I like to use, folks. I think there's a lot better tools for at your I don't see anything going on with him unless you already did there, Hawker. Uh, if you see something you think there, Hawker, you go right ahead as the moderator. I trust you with it. All right, so with Sim Toolkit up, like I said, there's a lot of it's aptly named Sim Toolkit. A lot of tools in the toolbox you see there, from flight planning, streamers. You have a lot of tools here, but where I like it is at the end when you look over your flight, all of the data it gives you, plus a picture of what you did, meaning where did I land on the runway? How was my pitch, heading, and so forth, speeds? You know, folks, you'd be shocked. The slower you are, the worse your landings, the faster you are as well. If you can try and hone in on that VREF speed, you see it in the data right here from Sim Toolkit. So really a great tool here. Don't get me wrong, Volanta's good too, but I just find the tools here more beneficial to me. So, and they're both free for the most part. The other one I know has pay sides to it. If there are any with Sim Toolkit, I am unaware of them. All right, so as you can see, there is some weather if we were to go west. Going east, it's not too bad yet. Look at this tomorrow, could be a little different story. So, but anyway, basically the route is OVR, which is Omaha VOR. Let me make sure I said that right. Yep, Omaha VOR. Then we head out to Kirksville, IRK, FARMR, and then we're on the FARMR, what are we up to? 3 arrival. Most likely 1-4 left. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens when we get to MidAmerica, how we want to continue or do what we're doing. Being, like I said, this is a training sortie with Simulated Air Force. That said, before we get too deep in here, hang on a second. If you're interested in flying militarily, that's kind of a weird word, I know, here on VATSIM, check them out. You may already be doing it in DCS, which is another simulator, digital combat sim. But if you want to go up on VATSIM with these controllers in, and do what the military does, air refueling, go into the MOAs and restricted areas, do your thing. Because, DCS doesn't cover the whole thing. Check out Sim Air Force. They're always looking for pilots, folks. You got to go through a training program because you need to learn some things. Because some people think, oh, I could go up and shoot down a tub now. No, you can't. Very strict rules. And this is set up with VATSIM as a VATSIM Special Operations agreement. I call it Special Operations Group. That wouldn't make VSOA sound right. So you're agreeing to these terms that you will and will not comply and do on VATSIM. So you're being shown what we can do. We can do a lot of stuff now. Formation flying, we can go in, simulate dogfighting each other in the military operating areas. Not, hey, let's go up here to Minneapolis and see if I can. No, you can't do that either. Got to do it within those parameters. So that's what the training's all about. Plus, get you up to speed, flying F-15s, F-16s, B1s, B-52s. Hey, E3s once you get up there in rank. C-130s, C-17s. So check them out, folks. I got the link up there for you, and we're always looking for pilots there. So, all right, enough commercializing. Let's get in here and talk about this. All right, now the E3 was not set up like a 747-200's passenger load. I have to get in there and adjust my sim brief setup so that it's more to it. That's why when you see 341 people, yeah, you're not going to get that in there with all the consoles, briefing rooms, and what have you. So you're not just, but weight-wise, you will start getting close on your zero fuel weights. All right, plus they carry a basic pack underneath for when they're, out at other bases and all. So there's basic numbers I haven't put in here yet. So, but again, there's our route, Omaha to Kirksville to FARMR 3 in. 75,000 pounds of payload, zero fuel weight. We're going to get it close to that. And our fuel, we're going to block out of Omaha with 47,458. It will be higher. We'll explain when we get into that. So you get the, this is what we're looking at here, folks. Weather. Yeah, we got a nice 2971 inches of mercury up here in Omaha on the barometer. Calm winds. It is 68 beautiful degrees there, which means it's going to be warmer in St. Louis. That's the theory, at least. And the dew points are kind of low. So the precip is trying to move in. It will eventually later today. All right, down here at MidAmerica, parametric pressure isn't much different. We do have winds at 208 favoring 1-4 left. 75 degrees Fahrenheit. Get your Bermuda shorts on, put your suntan lotion on, and take in the rays. No, just kidding. Really, parts of this winter were pretty rough, but overall it was a pretty good winter. So we'll take it. However, from what I'm getting inclinations, we may be sliding back into a cooler than normal temperature profile here. All right, weather-wise, though, you can see right here, 208, we got gusty winds to 16. That's going to make for fun. 10-mile visibility. And we have a ceiling set at 20,000 feet. So everything's cool. We're not looking to have to go to our alternate, which is Cincinnati. We should be beautiful ride. And it's time. And like I said, with Sim Air Force, there is no choice, folks. You can't fly. Technically, you can't fly offline or on POSCON to get credit for the flights. You got to be on VATSIM. Now, I don't know. I don't fly on DCS, so I don't know how that plays in. But I do know we do have operations over there. So. All right, I'm just looking over my flight plan. Yeah, we'll go with that. All right, and let me go ahead and do this. All right, so 2423. Let's get that in there right off the bat. Now I know some of you are curious about something they're trying out here in the world of VAT USA. What VAT USA is, folks, is the region in the world for VATSIM. For instance, there's a VAT Europe, there's a VAT Africa. They all have their neat little acronyms. The United States is VAT USA. USA is trying something where they use the Common Traffic Advisory Frequency, otherwise known as CTAF. Okay, how in the world do we find this? Well, let me show you. Why is that acting up like that? Hang on a sec. There we go. This over here, maybe that'll help. All right, we still have Sim Toolkit up here, so that'll work perfectly. Let me pull it back up on my side. Clear out this. Now, one other thing you can do with SimAir, you can actually put things to go to down here, like my NavGraph charts, SimBrief, where I plan all my flights, and this little thing called DATIS. Now, DATIS isn't going to help us on this flight. What that is digital ATIS. A lot of airports in the U.S., if you go to the plate, you'll see in the ATIS section, DATIS. If so, look it up. U.S. only on this site. I don't know how to get the world. Would love to when I'm over in Europe, Africa. They all have versions of this. I just don't know how to get a hold of it. Because basically what it would allow you to do is take off in San Francisco for a flight to Atlanta. On the ground in San Francisco, you can read the ATIS real world in hot Atlanta, as well as while you're traveling. So it gives you a real good situational awareness of what's going on between where you're departing, where you're arriving. Hey, let's try another thing. I could do it from Hong Kong to JFK. I could, of course, Hong Kong, I'll have to deal with whatever Hong Kong, but I can already figure out 15 hours down the road what's going on in JFK at that moment, and then watch it as we make the flight and see how things are evolving there. So then I can have myself ready for what they're doing in JFK. Usually VATSIM follows. Not all the time, but usually. And if you want to amp your game up a little bit here on the sim, those ATIS messages will tell you the runway surface condition, meaning is it wet? Is there snow? Is there ice? By the numbers put out. They're going to tell you what you can expect braking. And if the flight sim community of X-Plane is listening, that's where you can derive how to make your runways look, if you're not already doing that, which I'll bet you are. So I don't think I'm a step ahead of Austin. Really don't. So, by the way, that's one of the hats I wear at the airport I work at. I go out and get those numbers that then get put into the ATIS and into a NOTAM that you can see. All right. So let's pull up, kind of lost track where I was going here. Well, if it comes back to me, I will. I lost track. That's what I get for getting old. All right, folks, I am just going to press on since I totally lost my train of thought. May 58, 59 years of age be much kinder to you. There we go. All right, so let's get up here and program. I've kept it kind of simple. Route menu. Hey, look at that. The only one in there. Okay, just because it's in here, folks, doesn't mean you just blast off. You know, you might want to check it. So what I do is I go to legs. So we're going Offutt to Omaha via runway 31, Kirksville, which is on the airway we plan, to FARMR. And here's the FARMR. Now at Troy here, VORTOY. Actually, it's Troy. I know you're going, no, it says Toy, man. It's the name of it's actually Troy. But anyway, that's where well, kind of, sort of. If you're going to the 3.2s, you go a little bit north and west of it, or east of it. But if you're coming to the 1.4s, you're going to go right here to be vectored into the runway, which shows me we need to put that in here. Okay, I always select it still. It goes away if you don't. And then I select this. We're coming off Troy. We're going to hit execute. Only reason, folks, I know this like the back of my hand. That's how I can work this. Not because, you know, I just know the MidAmerica airport airspace and how aircraft transit it. So I wish I worked, well, sometimes I wish I worked in the tower, but I'm glad I don't. So, all right, so that takes care of our flight plan. Again, we're taking off runway 31 here. And the reason why I said via going to the Omaha VOR via runway 31, there are no SIDS that way. I believe there's some to the west. I don't know, though. Boy, that really bugs me when I lose my train of thought. All right, so next up. The flight plan called for us going to flight level 390. I'm not going to go up that high, not because we can't, it's because I'd like a little cruise time. Does that make sense? So this page is our climb. If we do next page, we set our altitude. I'm going to set 3 1,000. Okay, that's going to be our cruise. Next page is our descent. Everything looks good. And let's go to legs here. Program here. Wait a minute, there look like more on here. Hang on a second. Oh, okay, no, there wasn't. For a second I thought, did they incorporate something new? Why is next not here? Huh, that's weird. All right, well, we'll see how that plays out. But right now, the estimation is we're 216 miles away from our top of descent. We'll see when we get airborne how that all plays. All right, so the FMCs are programmed. The aircraft is, the only thing left to do now is put some peoples in it. Now, I told you we're going to do this a little different than what we saw on SimBrief. Okay, and the reason being is that's a great tool to help us flight plan. And then you can use that in anything. You don't have to have Sim Toolkit if you have SimBrief. You got it. Okay. You can just start plugging things in from the data there. Sim Toolkit just helps give you a visual idea of what's around you, weather-wise, airplane-wise, controller-wise, and then take that information and help break it down into a lot easier to digest, because some of the formats are a little difficult to get what you want out of them. All right, so distance. Hang on a second. Flight, where is it? There it is. Where'd it go? Oh, okay. I see what happened. Import. Cancel. Get rid of this. Gonna click the right button here eventually, folks. There we go. All right. Didn't realize it was going to do that. All right, for our flight today. Looking for mileage. That's right. All right, where's our fuel? Where's our fuel? Here it is. Let's see. En route. I have another way to look, but distance is 351 miles. So you can see distance at 1,000. Let's just bring it down to 400. Desiring, what did I say? 31 or 35? I think I said 31. Okay. Okay, 310. Tailwind. All right, now this one's the fun one. It's, you can see it's set up to give it to you as a tailwind. So that'll be, here's how I figure it out real quick. Look at our fuel load as of right now. We only need 38,492 pounds. Yeah, no. We're going to need a lot more than that. But anyway, we have a current wind when I set this flight up at 243 at 64 knots. We do have a bit of a tailwind to the tune of about a 38 knot quartering tailwind. So what I do, if you got a tailwind, what does that normally do to an aircraft, folks? Speed it up, meaning you're not burning as much fuel. Got a headwind, you're going to burn more fuel, so you're going to need more fuel. So watch the number. When you go up, did it go up or down? That is your tailwind, folks. See how that's dropped? Now, if it was a minus, you get this figure on your SimBrief. It'll say P or M. P is plus, M is minus. So your minus, there's 10 knot headwind. See how the fuel load is going up? So we'll set it to 30. Alternate. Here's a fun one. I can pull this up real quick and get it for Cincinnati. The other ones get a little difficult, but to get to Cincinnati, it's 310 miles. Again, round up. Contingency of 10%, taxi, we'll call it 20 minutes. So now what we proposed out of SimBrief, and again, you can manipulate SimBrief to get closer to these numbers, but realize it's really on a flight-by-flight basis. Say you're going from San Francisco to Tokyo. Well, things are going to be a little different because things transition because you got such a long distance. However, from, say, same thing, San Francisco, Los Angeles, you're only going 300-ish miles. Same kind of deal here. So you got to kind of play it flight by flight. All right, so that worked out your fuel. However, we don't have any passengers. We don't have any payload. What? Let's come over here. Now, this is just calculating, folks. I haven't put a drop of fuel in the plane. If you don't believe me, there should be 65,000, right? Let's head over to the fuel panel. As soon as I don't mess things up here on my page that I have, my cheat sheet. All right, let's head over there. My reserve tanks are still empty, and they're still 12. We'll just ballpark it, folks. 6 times 4 is 24. If not, ask Hawker. We'll have his daughter do some math and tell us what that is. And no, next time I see her, she's going to punch me. Oh, well. Only hurts for a little bit, for a little time, folks. All right, but here's the neat thing Felis gives us. Okay, again, we're calculating only at this moment. So we have these neat things called presets. And I'm going to go 50%. That's only going to give us 195 people. Okay, notice the fuel changed. Actually, no, it didn't. Oh, yeah, it did. It went up 1,000 pounds. Bit of more weight in the plane. Get it? All right, now we're going to go with, what'd that do to our zero fuel? Let's just do that. Let me see where we are on it. You know what? I kind of like that. We'll go with that as our basically, because you got to realize if you got all of this command and control equipment in this plane, it is going to be in the bays below, in the deck. I mean, you're going to have standard weights higher than most 747s. So I'm good with the numbers we have here. All right, so we have a 458,000 pound zero fuel weight. That's what we're planning. Takeoff weight of 523,148. Fuel load for today, we're looking at, hang on a second. The heck? There we go. And then nothing with the plane. It was just something weird going on in the house. So that brings us up to a fuel load of 66,859 pounds. All right, and you can add more fuel, pull back from the winds. See how it went up to 67. So whatever you can manipulate this page. So we'll go with this. Here's our load sheet. 30,000 pounds in the compartments below. Passenger cabin, 41,800. That works. And then your weights again. Your center of gravities. And your load limits. And my information, the captain's information. You need 67,410 pounds. And your landing fuel should be in the neighborhood of 41,000 pounds. 20 minutes to taxi, and we have a contingency of 2,392 pounds. All right, so how the heck do we take it from here, throw it into the plane? I know that's hot on everyone's mind right now. Very simple. Click here. We did the calculator, so let's go to refuel. And it's exactly what it says, folks. It's going to put the fuel in the plane. Always click Use Data Sheet. That way your numbers fill in from the calculator page. I go here, but usually I just do instant. But if you call tanker to reach this amount, which I did a couple days ago, actually a couple weeks ago, it just takes time. So we're just going to instantly load it with 67,410 pounds. That's what's on board. Prove it. Okay. Voila. Look at our fuel panel. Now we have fuel in the reserve tanks, which we drain on descent. We have much higher levels in the rest of our tanks. So we are fueled. Now let's put the second half, the cargo or the packs into it. Okay, so now we go over to payload. Use data sheet. So we're putting 190 people in board. We're going to uplift 30,200 pounds and so forth. Again, you can instantly board and load or board and load. I'm going to go ahead and do that because we do have some time still. We got to get the APU on, get the checklists running, get going. And I see I've used an hour already, and I tried not to. See what I mean when I talk? I talk too much. All right, so let's board and load. There goes the cargo in. There comes passengers, and we're going to have a crew of 11 on this flight. Now, when the cargo hits 30,000, the doors will close, but we always verify. So we're going to continue on, let it keep doing its thing. All right, so let's head back over here. All right, so we got everything pretty well powered up, tested, ready to go. I am going to kick over the APU. Okay, waiting for the fuel door to open up and start. Give it a 3 count, folks, before you let go of the starter switch, and you can see it winding up over there. Okay, looks like we're powered up. What I always do is close the top half first. What I call this the top half of the APU. Then I come down here and I do the tests that come with the aircraft in the manuals folder. I do a lot of what's on the checklist there. So I hit APU, and what we're looking for here, folks, is that we have our frequency should be up near 400, and our volts at about 115. APU 1 generator 1, or APU generator 1, see it's about 400 hertz at about 115. That's good. Generator 2. Theoretically, this aircraft is capable of using and starting 2 engines at a time. However, we have run into issues with that, so we're going to do the first 2 and then individually, and then the last 2 together. I think it's pulling from the engines. All right, so we're looking good here. Let's go ahead and close off our, what I call again now, the bottom half of the APU generation, power generation. Now we are on internal power, meaning cockpit to ground, disconnect ground power. We'll be coming in a minute. Bleed air on. Now you can test all of this, folks. Let me just show you what I mean. Okay. I can go to half. Watch what my needles do. Okay, go to full. All right, that's pack 1. Go to pack 2. Same thing. And you can do that and so forth. So we'll run with all 3 while on the ground. Now you all saw me kick over this one. That is now charging up our hydraulic system, so we're good to go brake-wise. We're into chalk, so we're not going anywhere. And I also turned our galley powers on. Okay. Double check. Lead air's on. Generators are on. Okay. All right, so we are already up to 121 peeps on board. We got our cargo. We're going to go here to ground. Notice green tells us it's open. White, they're closed, asking to be open. Okay, so
Cockpit to ground. Disconnect ground power.
there it is. And we're ready to start getting things ready to go, folks. We're online. I'm going
Ground
to...
power disconnected.
Now I remember what I was going to get into. Give me a second here. I want to get our flight going with simulated Air Force through smart cars. And then off we go into the, I would say wild blue yonder. Yeah, we got some blue, so we can say wild blue yonder. It's going to say the wild gray yonder because it was saying overcast. And I don't know about you all, but I am really looking forward to the next version of X-Plane 12 coming out, 12.1.0. The rumors are running rampant, but what I'm hearing, we are going to see a lot of updates in how X-Plane handles weather. We'll see. There we go. Oh, I guess it is an E. Where did I get E4? Hang on. Okay. I did this wrong. Hang on, folks. My bad. Wanting to create. Okay, we said 31,000, not 3,100. Okay, F up. Okay. KBLV. And let me grab my route real quick and we'll be ready to fire up. Well, start the checks. All right, we're up and running on Sim Air Force. There we go. All right, so remember I told you we have checklists. And it's always good to use them, folks, especially on this plane. Look at that. They will actually go through it and make sure you've done it. We've got a couple things I know I need to do already. Go to nav. Just going through everything. Okay. Things I couldn't check while tanks were pretty empty. Check my cross feeds. Okay. All right, so you can see the fuel pumps are looking good. We've already tested pretty much everything on here. Just getting things ready for engine start. All right. In the meantime, we go.
Before start checklist, please.
Gear lever and lights.
Down and check.
Brakes.
Parked.
Start levers.
Off.
Radios.
On and check.
Flight control hydraulic power.
On.
INS.
Check and nav.
Compasses.
Slaved.
Window heat.
On.
Seatbelts and no smoking.
On.
Emergency lights.
Armed.
Exterior lights.
Hold on.
All right, we'll get that here in a second. What it's asking, okay, when it runs this check, it is expecting you ready to go. So they're expecting the beacon lights. I'm just going to go check
Flight instruments.
Check.
because I still have the
Altimeters
main
and
door
clocks.
open.
1006. Set and cross check.
Radio INS switches.
Radio.
Radar and transponder.
Standby.
Indicator lights.
Check.
Engine and wing anti-ice.
Off.
Stall warning.
Check.
Mach airspeed warning.
Check.
Auto brakes.
Check and off.
Body gear steering.
Arm.
Anti-skid.
On.
Autopilot and flight director.
Check and off.
Takeoff warning.
Check.
Auto flight enunciators.
Check.
GPWS.
Check.
Instrument warning.
Check.
Flight director computer selectors.
Check.
Instrument source selectors.
Normal.
Reserve brake valve.
Closed.
Spoilers.
Down.
Static selectors.
Normal.
Oxygen mask and regulator.
Check and emergency off.
Brake pressure.
Check.
Stabilizer trim.
Check and on.
Rudder and aileron trim.
Check.
Checklist completed.
All right, we got one more. Now this one will ask right here, EPR computer, go around. We're going to be in takeoff dry, TOD. That does not stand for top of descent, folks. So I want to warn you there, and there may be a couple others. We'll catch them as they come along. Let me just look over here real quick, see what's coming. All right, I think we're good. And you can see we have one of these right here, as well as on the first officer side.
Battery. On. APU panel. Check. Auxiliary power. Check. Engine oil quantity. Check. Fuel quantity. 6, 7, 2, 3, 8 pounds. Fuel panel. Check and set. Pressurization controls. Check and set. Bleed controls. Weight. Check and set. Hydraulic quantity. Check. EPR computer. Let's see.
Again, they recommend go around. I keep it in takeoff dry.
Circuit breakers. Check. Indicator lights. Check. Electrical panel. Check and set. Air conditioning controls. Let's see.
Okay, again, they're looking for us to be ready to push, ready to start. And this aircraft
Check and
bleeds
set.
off. Gotta
Flight
have
control
at least
and wing
40
overheat panels. Check and set.
and see we're
Equipment
below
cooling.
it.
Check. Passenger oxygen. Check. Hydraulic panel. Check and set. Fuel jettison panel. Check. Crew oxygen. On. Oxygen mask and regulator. Check and emergency off. ADPs. Off. Checklist completed.
All right, folks, you ready to fire up? Okay, stand by. I like getting this map set up as well. And there we go. All right, back. One thing we can do real quick here is get our takeoff data so we're ready to go. Out of Omaha, folks. Omaha, we have a 11,703 foot long runway. It only updates in 100s. So we'll call it 700, that way it accounts for it. We're at 1,048, let's go up to 1,100. Runway heading is roughly 307. Let's call it 310. It is 31. We're not going to worry about that. Surface condition dry. Air temperature. Last METAR is of 52 minutes ago. 22 degrees Celsius. For those of us that live in the Midwest, that equates out to 72 degrees. Barometric pressure is now 2969. We'll make adjustments here after here, and we're 090 at 5 knots. So 31, pushing it, but we'll be okay with 5 knots. All right, so basic setup here, folks, shows us we're going to have a V1 of 117, 126 on our rotate, 145 for our safety speed. V1 is if we lose an engine, can't commit the flight, whatever happens in the aircraft, we reject the takeoff prior. So you're already into this, folks, before V1. If you do it at V1, you'll actually be above it and potentially run off the end. But it depends. There are some emergencies you're going to go, you could end up just saying, I can't commit the flight. I'm above V1. Reject. And yeah. So anyway, we'll set the speed bugs. Stab trim, we'll set to 2.7 once we're running. Our initial pitch is 18 degrees. After 10,000 feet, we'll go to 295 to get up to 31,000. We need 3,200 feet of runway, and our runway is corrected to 11,191. All right, and then when we're landing, we'll go to this one. A lot of things you can do here to get set up. Okay, our next list is after start. Let's do a quick outside the plane look. Neat little setup here. You don't cross those red lines, folks. If these were alert bombers with nukes on board, you may find some lead flying your way. I don't know how they work with these. All right, everything, let's zoom in. Other than chocks, which I can see from here. See them right there. There's one in the front, one on the nose gear. We're good to go. All right, coming down. Make sure the parking brake's on. It is. Let's go over here, release the chocks.
Cockpit to ground. Remove the chocks.
Chocks removed.
All right, we are ready for engine start. All right, so let's look at the panel again. Okay, so we got our packs off. Bleed air controls are on. We need to reset 6.9 and 6.9. Come up front here. Okay, and do we have another? No. Oh, yes, I do. Okay, there we go. Okay, we're ready for engine start. And last check, packs off. Bleed on. Fuel pumps on. All right, let's do it. Beacon on.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. On behalf of the entire crew, welcome aboard the Boeing 747 Classic. We will depart shortly after we have our clearance and the cabin crew is finished with their preparations. For now, I wish you a pleasant flight, and I will be back during the flight with further flight information.
All right, cockpit doors locked. We're in nav. All right, so let's get the valve open.
Ready to start the engines.
Ready for engine start.
Okay, we're going to go engine 3, engine 4, 1 and 2. And we're going to use system 1.
Starting engine 3.
Starter valve open.
Okay, you're not going to see N2 in front. You'll see it over here, and that's what your flight engineer is doing. He'll call out 20%.
%, and 2.
Fuel on. Lights up.
Starter off.
Okay. Now you can monitor things. You need to hear stabilized. If you didn't, and you're in X-Plane 12, you fired up accidentally in X-Plane 11. Okay. Cure that. One, you're going to have to shut down. Start it up using the X-Plane 12 ACF file. There's a way so you won't do that mistakenly easily. Show it to you here once he tells me stabilized.
Engine stabilized.
That's what you want to hear. What you do, folks, you come up here to your airplanes. Come over here where it says show aircraft for older versions, meaning X-Plane 11 or 10 if you're in X-Plane 11. Make sure it's unchecked like mine is. Okay. All right, let's start up number 4.
Starting engine 4.
Starter valve open.
Okay. Once you hear that, you can let go of the button. Now, you don't have to look back there. That's what that flight engineer is for, folks. But I like looking to see where we are. And we'll talk about common traffic here once we're ready to go, because we got to set our radio to it. That's what I wanted to talk about. That I, as an old person, have figured out I'll always forget.
20%, and 2.
Number 4, fuel valve open.
Fuel on. Lights up.
Starter off.
Again, we're listening for stabilized.
Engine stabilized.
Perfect. Now, I told you we're going to do 1 and 2 together. Now, in this system they may have it geared to where it cross bleeds in to fire these up. Either way, it does work. And this is to help make things faster on the ground to clear up for other aircraft to taxi.
Starting engine 2.
Starter valve open.
Okay. Here we go. You can see them both powering up. Like I said, they may be cross-bleeding from the main engines, but theoretically you should be able to start 2 at a time near sea level.
20% and 2.
That's engine 1.
Fuel on. Light up.
20% and 2.
Engine 2.
Fuel on.
All engines
Light up.
in
Starter off.
fuel on are in the idle position now, not idle cutoff. So that's
Starter
the theory.
off.
And for the most part they do. Now we found in Bogota, forget it. You will not do it unless you do the hot start. That may be what you have to do. What that means is you go here and they'll light off quicker and then move it up to idle. So, but I don't know the full procedures for that, and we'll just 1 at a time in Bogota. We did that on stream, folks.
Engine stabilized.
It was fun. There's 1. We need 2 engines stabilized.
Engine stabilized.
Bingo. All right, so we are fired up. Let's head over here and get our engines. Now, we can do the same thing here, folks. Go through each engine and make sure we're on. You would just have to use your external power, like here. See how it zeros to go to 2? See how they've got all generators are generating, okay? Then we come up here where you see the yellow lights. Click, close, bring engine 1 on the bus, 2's on the electric bus, 3's on the electric bus, 4's on the bus. And you've got to close the split system breaker. That puts you completely on the electrical bus. Now close your bleed valve and shut your APU down. Theoretically, you could shut off your galley powers, and that gives you a little bit more. You're not hurting them. And then, of course, give us some air to the passengers who go, please, we're dying back here, man. Give us some air. So, and there you go, folks. We are fired up. Let's go over here and look what we got to have had done. Okay, so the start switches are off. The beacon lights are on. Brake pressure, we'll check. Start levers, idle detent, that's where they are. Engine anti-ice. This is going to sound crazy. I'm going to run with it. Because we do have thunderstorm activity nearby, we're going to, not test. We're going to use it for helping with FOD. 8. All right. Looking over, fuel pressure. Okay, sorry for running your head all over the cabin here. Fuel pressures are up. ADP's coming to auto. While I'm here, there we go. All right, so we're ready to taxi actually, but we're going to run through it.
After start checklist.
Flight recorder.
On.
Start switches.
Off.
Beacon lights.
On.
Brake pressure.
Check.
Start levers.
Idle detent.
Engine and the ice.
On.
Electrical panel. Check. Pack valves. Open. Dual warning lights. Out. Hydraulic panel. Check. Flight recorder. On. After start checklist completed.
Okay, we got one more to taxi.
Flaps 10.
Okay, stabilizer trim 2.7. Okay, it's not in the green band. Believe it or not, there is a switch that says, yes, it is. Flight controls. All right, let's get our yoke back in here. This panel right here, folks, will hide or reveal your yoke along with the Yankee, Y key, Yankee. Okay, and then we want to watch this gauge, which I've said on just about every flight I wish was on the FlyJSim 727 or a smaller version. Get the plane smaller just because it includes aileron. Speaking of which, okay, we can see it. So ailerons, by the way, are right here on the edge. Making sure they center. Elevator. Of course, the guys outside are telling us what they see, if they were there. Okay, and another run with the rudder. All right, flight controls are good. Now, I get rid of it until landing. As you can see, it covers up my HSI. Okay, so we need yaw dampers, APU fuel heats off, totalizer, gross weight engineer panel, ARF cargo is set, and let's run it. And we're ready to
Taxi
taxi.
checklist, please.
Flaps. Flaps 10.
Flaps 10.
Takeoff data. EPR and airspeed bugs.
Set and cross-check.
Stabilizer trim.
Set in green band.
Probe heat.
On.
Flight controls.
Check.
Yaw dampers.
Check.
Seat belts and shoulder harness.
Check.
APU. Off. Fuel heat. Off. Totalizer and gross weight. Set. Flight engineer and pilot panels. Check. Aft cargo heat. Normal. Seat belts and shoulder harness. Check. Taxi checklist completed.
All right, so let's talk now this CTAF issue. Okay, real quick, those of you who aren't really savvy with it, let me bring in Sim Toolkit. Let me show this. I showed this once before, but again, this is only in the US. Okay, only in the US. Give me about 30 seconds and we'll really deep dive into it real quick. I'll be right back. I'm going to we'll get some coffee in a minute. We'll be rolling here in a minute. So I've already taken up an hour and a half of the flight already. We're not even off the ground. All right, so we got a few more seconds here. So, and folks, if you want to get your hands on the aircraft, just go here. I think that's the right code. Yep. That'll get you the aircraft, then look for the livery. Follow the instructions if you want it to look like you see up here. Okay. You want it to look like this with the bubble on top, the little notch on the nose, and a few other things radar-wise or radio antenna-wise. Get the link in the chat box and then follow it, and power to you. I'm keeping it just as is. All right, It's going to let you know we're going to talk about CTAF here real quick. Again, this is only U.S. Oh, wrong one. Did do that. Hang on. There we go. I need to go to the sectional in the U.S. sectional map. It looks like this. Now again, I'm using Sim Toolkit, but SkyVector, folks, that's www.skyvector.com. It's a great tool, folks, to show weather around you, SIGMETs, AirMets, cloud cover. I mean, a lot of things you can use with these layers, setting up your flight, see what it looks like. Guys with ForeFlight kind of have an idea, but they get a lot more data than you do. However, how do we find out what the heck is the common traffic frequency here? Very simple. I'm going to zoom right into where it says Offutt Air Force Base, right here. OFF, throw a K in the front, that's the ICAO. CT, yes, means control tower, but it's also your common traffic advisory here. So, without a tower, you would still be on 123.7. Now, here's something that would help you out a little more. Let's look at Plattsmouth, Municipal Douglas here south of it. Well, how do I know what the common traffic frequency is there? Again, very simple. Look for the C. 122.7. So on these airports, for instance, now private airports, that's that right there says it all, folks. Let's say, I'm going to try and find a plain old, well, that was, again, here's a different one, but same frequency. I like that. Wahoo! NDB, that's kind of cool. Anyway, 122.7. You look for the C. See, likewise here, 122.8, which would be no different than it is right now on VATSIM everywhere else. But if we come down to Lincoln, again, CT and the common traffic, see the C is even there, 118.5. The reason you're not really seeing a C is, for the most part, you're really not to. But up here at Epley, it's 132.1. It's a lot of times your tower frequency, but there's some airports with multiple towers. Which one? So they put it on the sectional what your, traffic frequency is. So look for it right here, 123.7. And then here is the high. I would think should be able to find it here, but you can't. Maybe on the low charts. Let's find out. No, not really. Because we looked at that one and we're not seeing the same stuff. If you don't, notice that. So, but definitely off the sectionals, you'll find it. But again, skyvector.com, a lot of great features on it. Check it out, folks. You don't even need Sim Toolkit for it. Oops. You can do this with just a plain old internet browser. All right, so here we go. Let's get rid of Sim Toolkit. All right, so we got to set to bear with me. I didn't set it when we were talking about it. 123.7. There we go. Now, once you get airborne, folks, above 3,000 feet, you're out of the area. Go back to 122.8. This is, I think, to help free up the jibber jabber of people trying to do their takeoff out of airports and nobody can communicate anywhere else. It's still going to be a problem, but hopefully it lessens the problem. We'll see. Okay, we're going to go ahead while we're here, bring up our transponder. We're going to go ahead, lower the radar dish, but we're going to stay standby until I turn away from the guy that's going to be marshaling. Pretty sure he'd like to have kids. Maybe not, but you know, don't want to deprive him of that. All right, so here we go, folks. Wing lights and...
Parking brake released.
Okay, good. It did that at least. I don't like using my keys for that.
Stabilized.
Here we go. Remember, it's a big plane. Nose gear's behind you, so you got to go ahead of the yellow line before you start your turn. One thing I have not checked, and I'm going to, they'd be screaming at me now if they were. There is nobody online, okay. Oh, helps to be, there we go. Let's aviate before we communicate, lights. And we said we need the radar now on. Same thing here, folks. Offutt traffic, Sim Air Force 18 Heavy, taxi 231 for departure. To me, that's all you need to say, folks. But some of you get way too into it. That's, you know, that's personal preference. I, on the other hand, don't. I just tell you, hey, I'm taxiing for takeoff. You can't see a 747. You might want to go look for a place for glasses. Now, I would have said that with a C5 too, but they are camouflage, so you may not see them. But you can't see that thing, folks. There's other issues at play. All right, let me see if I can zoom in on them. Okay, I want you to watch the landing gear. See how it pivots? That's your body gear steering. It's to help you around curves, save wear and tear on those very expensive tires. Okay, we're going to do a quick takeoff check. The only thing we will not be able, nor will I, here is turn off the body gear steering. But everything else we can do. So here we go.
Before takeoff checklist.
Icing considerations.
Check.
Cabin alert.
Check.
Transponder.
Check.
Ignition.
Okay, what he's talking about is these, all of these 8 switches for your, what we started with need to be up in flight start. Now, they give us a nice, easy way to do this. Click right here at the top of the
Flight
line.
start.
They all move.
Body gear steering.
Skipping that, or checking it.
Pack valves. Let's see.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and close them.
Closed. Pressurization mode selector. Auto. Fuel boost pumps. On. Cross feed valves. Check. Before takeoff checklist completed.
Here we go. Okay, look a little to the left, since that's the way we're hoping traffic's coming. Nothing seems to be out that way. Nothing on TCAS. Just in case someone's trying that way, we're going on to the runway.
Cabin crew, arm slides.
I would have done that a lot earlier. If you want, you can play them. What it's going to do now is trigger her to do the
Cabin crew, take your seats.
All
cabin
doors
stuff.
are closed and armed.
To do her announcements back there. We still got a little taxi to go.
On behalf of our captain and the entire crew, I wish you welcome on board. Please take your seats and fasten your seatbelts.
But again, that's how you make these tighter turns with this plane. That body gear steering.
We request your full attention as our cabin crew will demonstrate the safety features of this aircraft. When the seatbelt sign illuminates, you must fasten your seatbelt. Insert the metal fittings one into the other and tighten by pulling the loose end of the strap. To release your seatbelt, lift the upper portion of the buckle. We recommend that you keep your seatbelt fastened while in your seat. If you are seated next to the emergency exit, please read the instructions of the safety abort card. You will find it in the seat pocket in front of you. If you do not wish
All right, we'll get down to the end here, turn around, and do our thing.
attendants to receive you. There are several emergency exits on this aircraft. Please take a moment to locate the nearest exit. The exit may be behind you. If we need to evacuate the aircraft, floor the plastic bag and remove the vest. Slip your head through the opening. Fasten the strap around your
All right, so we're ready to go.
We are at the door.
Takeoff checks complete. Next one, just so you know, is after takeoff, gear up, landing, logo lights off, ignition, seat belts, pack valves, and fuel heat. Now these two will gotta kick on pretty quick, but we'll get it airborne. Here we go. Omaha traffic, Offutt Air Force Base, Sim Air Force 18 Heavy, departing 3-1. Sim Air Force 18 departing 3-1.
We advise you to read the card before takeoff. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask one of our crew members. We wish you all a pleasant flight.
Okay, let's bring it up. Now we would have gotten stabilized. We already got that because I put too much power out of the blocks. Okay, let me get the EPR going.
Thrust set.
80 knots. V1. Rotate. Positive rate.
Gear coming
Gear
up.
up. is up.
All right. So now we'll let it kind of get in position here. Continue our climb. We're set to 5,000. We're going to go on up to 31. All right, 31. Okay, autopilot coming on. Vertical speed climb. Oh, I did it. I'm thinking tomorrow's stream. Okay, we're starting to accelerate up to 240.
Flaps 5. Flaps up.
All right, what I just did, here, let me show you. I just moved it from off to VS. That got us set at about 1,000 foot a minute once I dialed it down. Now I'm set to indicated airspeed, so that's going to be what governs us. And then at 10,000, we'll do it again, and we'll set for, I believe it was 297. $295. Got one more set to do. We're not above 10,000 feet yet.
10,000.
And I'm going to set our EPR climb. Yeah, that gauge, folks, you can find right here along with your CDUs when you're using the SIVAs or LTNs, and you can get rid of your EFBs if you don't want them. We're through 10,000. So let's go back to vertical speed. Again, dial it down to about, I'm going to only do 1,500. We're going to go up to 295. And I'm going to start swinging us around probably about 120. Meant to start that clock. Did I get that one going over there at least? Okay. Reason I'm kind of mad at myself, I'm trying to get more into habit of getting this clock going, because most clearances out of airports like this would be 10 minutes after departure. You're maintain your flight level. You know, you're cleared to your flight level. So in case controllers get busy, you just start your climb. And I don't see altitude select here on my display. That's because I forgot to do that. Now I see it, so when we get to 31, it will actually level off. We're almost to 295. So we're swinging around. We're going to see how I did. kind of hoping I got it right at 120, but it may be 130, 140 I need to set. But again, welcome aboard Flying with Mike. Thanks for being a part. And hope you enjoy. Smash that follow button if you're new to the channel. Love to have you on future flights. Okay, we're coming up on it real close. We'll go into IAS again. There we go. IAS. Now at about 27, 8, or 9,000 feet, we'll be looking for it to be at about Mach 80 to 85. Mach point 80 to 85. No, we're not going to be going hypersonic or hyperspace or warp speed, as much as we all would love these things to do. There's only one plane so far that's been kind of capable of it, Concorde. Kind of, I say. But yeah, so we're about ready to hit our transition level. That wasn't bad. Let me pull this up. We'll go direct Omaha. Execute. Go to INS and the plane should begin turning for the VOR. And it is. Now what I did again, direct. Now this would not be how Boeing does it. Normally you would just click here, it drops down here, you put it above to go direct. In this case, we're going to do this. How far off were we? About 150 is what I'm thinking. Yep. Wasn't bad. Got us on track at least. Actually, we're still turning. There we go. We're almost leveled out. All right. So there you have it, folks. That is the takeoff and climb portion of the flight. 18,000 feet. We're going to do the after takeoff checklist. You're probably going, about time, Cap. You're almost to cruise. Well, you're going to see why I held off. 292, 32. All right, got our pressurization system set. We're still planning 31,000. We'll set the cabin pressure to about 30, what is that, about 3,900 feet, and go from there. Let's make sure we're on up here, because sometimes we forget, and then we have a ghost cabin. All right, we're coming into Omaha. So there you have it, folks. We're on our way. You know, I do enjoy flying the Felis plane. I'd fly it a lot more, but I feel sometimes people like to see the A319 2021s. The Zebo, another phenomenal aircraft in X-plane. But yeah, I really like this. I also like the 727, which is what's slated for tomorrow's flight, LaGuardia to Norfolk. So I really hope y'all enjoy that one. Crossing Omaha at this time. Mutual of Omaha. So that'll be a fun flight. That's going to actually be, we're going to call it a retro flight tomorrow. T-tail Thursday, retro flight, and X-plane 11. One day, we're hoping FlyJSim will have that up and going in X-plane 12. But as you can see, folks, with the 747-200 here from Felis. It's a lot of work. It's, again, it was an aircraft designed to have 3 people doing the job in Felis of 1. So you got a lot going on, a lot to monitor, a lot to, and you can see it takes time. Throw the SIVA or LTN navigation systems in, more time. I haven't actually watched videos where they use them. Kind of curious how much extra time, even with the additional assistances that Felis has in here for. So, all right, so we are on course. Let me set my heading bug. Now, the reason I set this bug, folks, is if we're going to double check our route. Now, let's just say, hypothetically, our arrival airport, the runway changed. Hey, folks, if you live in the Midwest, if you don't like the weather at this moment, blink your eyes, it's changed. Seriously, that's how fast things can change out here in the middle of the U.S. And I'm pretty sure in the middle of Europe, well, maybe not Europe because it's all kind of, it's not as vast as the United States. But you get into like places like Russia, I'm sure it can do that on you. Down, you know, so literally 5 minutes from now, the weather could be totally different. When I drove the truck, and this is not a truck driver story. I think it was Oklahoma City I came out of in a severe thunderstorms. I mean, it wasn't raining cats and dogs. It was raining elephants and giraffes, how hard it was coming down. 5 minutes later, it was snowing that hard. That's how fast things can change here. And unbelievable how the weather can be. But it's also kind of fun to live 4 seasons in one day. So theoretically, that runway change could happen. So let's say it changes. So now we would have to come down to the FMC. Once they tell us this is our approach, go to our departure approach page, our arrival airport, make sure you select your star, and then the runway of choice. Now, why I said all of that? Because when you hit execute, you might get the aircraft might start turning. Oh my God, control, I have to disconnect. I don't know what my FMC is doing. I'll tell you what it's doing. It's going back to your last fix, or 2 or 3, and tracking in your
Down
star.
to level off.
Okay, so when you have your heading set with your course or pretty close, just snap it back to heading. Heading select, pick your airplane, take over heading till you work out where you're at in the FMC, get that either direct or the next fix, which should be whatever's next, and then re-engage and you'll come right back on course. 9 out of 10 times that's what's happened. And that's how I counter it, folks. So right now, if this plane were all of a sudden to turn around and start headed back to Omaha VOR, I would go right up here, snap it to heading. It's going to come back to this heading of 115. Now, granted, you're not on course. I'll give you that. I heard that out in the audience. Okay, work your way. Okay, grab Kirksville VOR. I think we're in range. Yes, we are. Get a bearing to it and start getting over to the radial. And then fly, get your FMC set up, and you're good to go. Click back over if you have to be on it. Because remember, right now, I don't have anything turned on INS up here. I'll show you what I mean as soon as I get myself back to legs. Okay. I have not flipped my radio INS switch to INS. Let's do it. Now you see how but I keep, but the number is still here. So I know we're running at about 115. Keep it close, 120, 110. It'll come back online and then work your way to the next fix ahead of you. Figure out where you are. It happens to me, folks, where, you know, I don't realize I'm already into my approach. I hit activate, and all of a sudden she turns back to the beginning of the approach. Oh well, you know, those things happen. Hit heading, get back on course, figure out where you are in it. Sim Toolkit's a great tool for that. NavGraph's a great tool for that. And work your way back onto course. Because I'm gonna guarantee you, and you real world pilots, correct me if I'm wrong, but I know I'm not. In the real world, I have yet to hear, Oklahoma Control, I have to disconnect because my navigation system isn't acting like it's supposed to. Now, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to hear that in the real world. Maybe. Things are kind of surprising out there, but pretty sure not disconnecting from real world ATC. So, deal with it. No. Again, I try to keep things entertaining, light, and sarcastic at times. So, like, oh, who let this airplane go so fast? Yeah, it's the flight engineer's problem. Yeah. The flight engineer did it. That's what. He's the one that gets all the praises for the good in the flight. Let's give him the bad for when we do mistakes up front. You know, the pretty boys do mistakes. Now we'll get her slowed down here, back under control. Well, matter of fact, let's keep that up here because we're going to switch into Mach here in a few. And we'll start bringing some power in. And now it should maintain. This now is where Mach 0.851 is. And I will adjust accordingly once we get up here the speed bug. All right, so we're into ballpark. We'll see how that works out. We're in cruise. We're on Mach. Yeah, that was me. I started yakking again, and that's what happens, folks. No internet. Hang on a second here. We're getting a message that I have no internet to get. Everything looks fine. Why am I getting that? Yet I know we're on stream. There we go. I don't know what the heck is going on here, folks. Other than, let me do this. Maybe this could be the cause. My backup here to telling me how things are with the flight, my laptop, is kind of been acting kind of screwy here lately. I'll have to see if there's any updates. All right. Sorry for that digress. But anyway, folks, we're airborne. And should be at our destination in about 30 minutes. All right, and I see we're kind of all over the place here with our speed, and I don't understand why it does that. Throttles on. All right, we'll just keep going. We're going to be starting down here shortly anyway. So we'll do an arrival brief here right now since we're about 100 miles out. Okay, I'm going to keep it focused here so I can kind of watch my speeds. Let's bring into the freight charts. And I am going to definitely make that screen. Oh, can't you all read that? All right, let's just do it this way. That'll work. All right, we're not going to go too fancy with this. But anyway, folks, here's where we are. Kirksville's right ahead. Right after Kirksville, we're going to be pretty close to descending. So just to give you an idea. Too fast. All right. Weather at MidAmerica Airport. Okay, now we are not DATIS there. Let me do this. Airports. CVG is, so hang on. Here's how you would tell. Go to charts, we'll just say that one. No idea what we would come in. Okay, up here in your briefing strip or whatever chart you're on, we are really oscillating up here. Okay, there's your ATIS frequency, but you're looking for this. If it says D-ATIS, that's when you could use that program, folks, D-ATIS, to figure out what the heck's going on in Cincinnati, you know. So anyway, that's where you would find that. So let's go back to our flight. So the weather, it's a neat little feature here. At MidAmerica, the current METAR is 200 at 11 knots, 10 miles of visibility, few clouds at 5,000, and the sky, oh my gosh, it's broken at 30,000. Oh, what do we do at 31,000, folks? Oh, we're in trouble. No, sky cover is broken. Anyway, 25 degrees out there, 13 degrees. There's our current barometric pressure, 2996. Try that again, 2976. Now, all of this stuff is what we call scientific data. This one has me a little concerned because I live close to the airport. No, just kidding. So let's take a look here. What does this all mean? Okay, so down below, NavGraph puts it in what I call English, or probably, if you have it set, your language of choice. Okay, so it tells you the winds, tells you the visibility. We can figure that out. However, it does tell you the ceiling, and that, folks, is important for some of your approaches. Okay. Because if it's below the ceiling, below the visibility, you've got to find a different approach or a different airport. Your alternate, usually. Okay, temperatures. Most of you all know 25 degrees Celsius. We in this country, they're like, oh my gosh, I gotta put my muckluck on. It's 25 degrees outside. No, it's actually 55 degrees outside. Oh, I'm sorry, 77 degrees outside. Looked at the wrong one. Okay, so at least translates it for those of us not in the metric world. As you all say, get with it, get in that program. Actually, you know, when I was in high school, back in this year called the 80s, actually 70s and 80s, they kept talking we were going metric. We still haven't, as you all know. Anyway, there's our altimeter and translation out to everyone else in the world on millibars, 107, 108 actually. All right, remember all of that other gobbledygook that I told you about was called scientific from remark on? It tells you lightning distant southwest. That's close to me. Huh. Sea level pressure there. Hourly temperature there, and dew point there. See how it breaks it down and tells you what all that little I call it gobbledygook. All of that scientific data, discriminators and all of that good stuff they may have and all, which I don't think we have there. But anyway, that's defined right here. Pretty cool, I think. What's going on with our speed? Too high. That's what it is. All right. Finally, last check. 60 miles. Okay, so there's our weather. So again, the big thing is ceiling 30,000 feet, 10 miles visibility. Keep that in the back of our minds. So let's get into it. We're going to do the 1-4 left. Get to select it. Let's select it. 1-4 left Toy. Okay. Now, there it is. So it's pretty much in green here is the star. Orange is the approach you selected. So you can actually see all of this. Now, let's get into the charts. Okay, first one. We got to get down to 13,000 feet. By FARMR, I already know it's not saying that. It's at 19,000 feet. So, I think we're going to need to start our descent now. And I'm already going to hear from somebody over at Felis, you did not take it off out select to out hold. I'll explain in a few what that really is. Okay, however, we should have started a descent. I did. Okay. Go to VS. Should have started down. I don't know why we didn't. I'm gonna keep thinking 727. My bad, folks. Okay, so let's start our descent. Take it at 2,000, see how we're doing. And let's pull some power back. Actually, I'm going to take us out of Mach. Set our airspeed. Hang on a second. 300. Come down to speed. We're still on. Okay. All right, so we're coming over Kirksville, I believe, right now. So we're going to come over FARMR at 13,000. Bash, direct Pam, direct Troy. Okay, we're going to need to be 2,500 feet-ish at or around that minimum to head over to the ILS and then catch the glide slope. Okay. So this little notch here that we're doing from Pam to here is 4 miles, minimum safe 2,200 feet. The whole the whole leg, I think, is 2,300 to Fash, 2,200 the rest of the way. Over here tells you the routing, landing, pick your airport. We're landing Scott MidAmerica, so we're going to come in Fash, Ham, Toy, Vectors to our arrival. Way too fast here, folks. Stand by. Okay, so lost my train of thought here as I'm trying to control the plane at the same time. So now let's get over to the ILS. Okay, here's the chart. Hopefully you all can really read that top briefing strip. 128.7 Ciatis. There's our approach, tower, and ground. Hang on, folks, I just realized I'm on the wrong frequency here if needed. Okay. Localizer. We are going to set this 111.15. That'll go right here. And the inbound course 139. Okay. How we doing now? Much better. Okay. Umont. Kind of open it out. That is right here at about 7 miles from the runway. Got to be at 2,200 feet. That's our minimum safe. So as long as we come across 3,000, I would say 3,000 and no lower, we're good at Troy, and we can work our way down to the 2,200 by Umont. All right, now the decision, altitude, and height. Bold is MSL, mean sea level, or think of it as the altitude above sea level. So you put sea level as your base, okay? We are already at this airport 459 feet above sea level. That's just where that is, how the topography worked, okay? The decision altitude is 694 feet, MSL. MSL is read on this gauge right here, and on the co-pilot side. Decision height. Height above the ground. Now you're going, well, how the heck am I supposed to figure that out? But this little handy dandy gauge called your radar altimeter, sending a signal down to the ground. Doesn't care what the sea level is, wherever the ground is below you. And it's going to tell you where you are. We're going to set it to 250-ish, round up to 260 for safety. And that's our decision altitude. Either one, folks, it's at the same point in the sky. It's just the bold is measured as if you were at sea level up. The other one is from the ground below you up, which, by the way, that's where your METARs come off of, above the ground. So, we know 30,000 feet's our ceiling. Guess what? Not worried about it. 252 is our minimum. 10 miles of visibility? Well, we don't have that part of the puzzle yet. Missed approach to the dumpty and hold. We'll show it here in a minute. And then the other requirements. Okay, so again, we're coming off Toy, which is actually called Troy. About 5 miles to Hetsu, and then we grab the localizer to on, and then we're on the glide slope and localizer. There's our runway. Here's our missed approach to Dutby, and then we're going to do a parallel approach, I think that's called, into the hold. And we hold out there. Till they'd say, okay, you can come back now. No, just kidding, folks. I love having fun with ATC. All right, we just crossed the, I think I said 7.6. 7.6. Here real quick. I'm just doing things I know you can't see it, folks. Bear with me. For our cabin pressure to 1,000 and 7.6. All right. Sorry, folks. Got to stay with the plane. All right. So Hetsu, Mumont, 2,200 feet on glide slope, down for the runway. Here's where the visibility comes in. Okay. So we got to be at least 3/4 of a mile or greater to make this approach. And we have to be above 252. By the way, folks, you're never going to see it that way. In a METAR, it's either going to be 200, 300. So plan on 300. So 303/4 of a mile, unless the RVR is 40. Then, as long as we're above that, we're good. Below that, we have to start looking at either another approach,
1,000 level off.
runway, or alternate. All right. So we're leveling off. So bear with me here. I'm going to start working the speed down to 250. Okay, and that, folks, is our approach. Now, this tells you theoretically what your glide path should be if you lose your glide slope. Kind of works, kind of doesn't. We saw it did not work at when we were out in Paro in Bhutan, the most one of the most difficult approaches. Yeah, that number didn't seem to jive right. Pappies in the real world are on the right side of the aircraft. In the sim world, they're on the left. I've been in this airport more than I'd like to know. Rails for our approach lights. And here's that missed approach again. All right, so there we go, folks. We're already halfway to the airport. And we just got done with that. All right, so what I'm going to do, maybe my monitor comes back, which it will. There we go. Gonna put it up here in the corner. Usually I have an overlay. I'm not running it today. And I'll bring it back later, if I remember. All right, so we're at 13,000 feet, folks. We are not to FARMR, but we're only a few 1.8 miles out. That ain't right. But we're very close. Maybe it's 18 miles. So let's catch up, shall we? There we go, folks, as we see the Illinois River. All right, so we did all of that. All right, let's start going down here. Auto brakes. Well, let's go first. If you don't mind, I'm going to go get our arrival information. Okay, landing weight, again, use the load sheet. 30, 10,000 foot runway, 450, so we'll be at 500. Coming in 1.4. And we're dry at the moment. 25, I believe, was the temperature. Barometric pressure 2976. Winds 200. 11. Alright, so that's going to yield us a VREF of 132. So if we come down at about 142, 140, somewhere in there, that'll be a good approach speed, folks, for us to touch down on. And with medium brake, 6,000 feet down the runway. Alright, so that just answered one of the questions we need. Medium brakes.
Kevin, ready.
Cabin crew, prepare for landing.
Ladies and gentlemen, prepare for landing. Please fasten your seatbelts. Adjust the belts on your seat in the upright position and
All right.
safe building.
We're about to come over FARMR, and then I'm going to begin my descent to 5,000 before coming down to 2,000. We talked about this. Technically, every time you level off, you should go to altitude hold. That way you can set your numbers without it moving up and down until you're cleared. Why it didn't do that before, I don't know. Don't know. For now, let's take a look at this checklist, shall we? Seatbelts, anti-ice, exterior lights are ready. INS switches are good. Spoilers will arm later. Check my spoiler. Think of it. Okay. And go ahead and begin to slow to 240 because I am going to start that descent. There's our call. They're ready.
Kevin, ready.
Down we go here in a second. Like I said, down to 5,000. And another thing I like on this aircraft versus the FJS 727 you'll see tomorrow, it tells you what you're setting to, 2,000, 1,000, 3,000. Where that you're kind of just move it, watch your gauge. This is a lot. I like this. But again, this is after the 727. This is after the fact. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put in a little speed brake. Fash is next, then we got the long run to Pam. And that's when I'm going to begin running the checklist next to us. Many of you are asking, well, why aren't you running it en route? Well, most of it actually starts like after takeoff. Well, you should make sure your packs are on and a couple of things. But you're not turning your landing lights off until 10,000 feet. So there should be 2 checklists and 2 or 3 on the way down. They're doing it because, again, remember, you're one person running a plane that ran with 3. So you're doing a lot of work. There's 10,000. Speak of the devil. So you gotta, plan this out. Like I'm going to be watching this speed like a hawk. Because I think it's going up. Oh, I'll tell you one thing I forgot to do. Yeah, it is going up. Speak of the devil. All right, let's go over here. Performance. set speed bugs. See how they moved into position, folks? That's what I had forgotten. Actually, I'm going to back off our descent. We don't need to get down to 5,000 back, which will then help us to maintain speeds. Okay. All right, here we go, folks. Let's start running that checklist.
Approach checklist, please.
Seatbelts and shoulder harness.
Check.
Seatbelts and no smoking signs.
On.
Anti-ice.
Off.
Exterior lights.
Check.
Outer brakes.
Medium.
Radio INS switches.
Hold on. Radio.
Flight director computer selectors.
Check.
Brake pressure.
Check.
Spoilers.
Armed.
Altimeters.
1008. Set and cross-check.
Landing data, EPR, and airspeed bugs.
Set and cross-check.
Seatbelts and shoulder harness. Check. Fuel panel. Check. Fuel heat. Let's see.
Okay. Some of this I have not set. I've got our pressure set. I'm going to actually bring it down a little. Okay, fuel heat coming off.
Off. EPR computer. Go around. Cabin altitude. Check. Circuit breakers. Check. Approach checklist completed.
All right, guess what the next one is? You'll never guess. All right, so we're coming into 6,000, folks. We may be in a thunderstorm. Now, look up here. You can see I've got the chart for our current weather. Currently, the remarks changed. There's no lightning now. Okay, so that's good. It's moved away. However, I got a feeling we got more coming. So up here you see we're 190 to 11. Okay, that's fine. 10 miles, 6,000, a few clouds to dodge, and 30,000 still the ceiling. So still looking pretty good, folks. Close that off. All right. Now, some neat other things we can do. Let's bring the radar in. And there's where that lightning south was. That's a pretty good cell, by the way. And that's way south of me, I think. Yeah, that's way south of where I live. But anyway, you can do this and now see what's coming, because radars are, yes, show, but not like that. That's how they should look on your radars. To me, that tells me this could be Harry Carey. And they're worse, folks, when you get out in the Oklahoma, Nebraska area. Those storms can get really violent out there. So, but again, you can turn it off and you don't have it. Also, I can overlay the arrival and see where we are versus the fixes on everything around us, weather included. So you can see we just came off Fash. We got about a 25-mile run, I think it is, to Pam. We're already at 5,000 feet, so we're good to go. Now, I am going to do a little radio mix up here, 116.0. And, oh, let's see here. We got to update this. Okay. Let's put that on. Yeah, we'll just leave. Okay. So now we are set up for the approach. Any time now, I could slow us to 220 to help us stay ahead of the game with jets. Or, I'm going to give you a real life story here, folks. When I flew, I have a private pilot's license, by the way, folks. Back in the 80s, I used to fly a lot of small planes, Tomahawks, Arrows, Warrior Archer, Saratoga, Cessnas, 150 and 172s. And then with all of those that I just mentioned, Saratoga might have been a little faster, but for the most part, my mind, right on track. I knew right when to do this. When I turn base to final, I should be at this, so I can make a beautiful landing every time. Well, I end up flying a Bonanza. And I'm here to tell you, folks, things are increased. Your landing speed's up by about 10 knots. Y'all may think, well, that ain't much. Try it, folks. You got to be ahead of the plane. So when you start turning for base, your mind needs to be thinking about final. So you're setting the plane up for that turn. Even though you're flying, you're actually in this part of the turn. Does that make sense? So you got to be ahead of your aircraft. So like right now, my mind needs to be thinking, okay, after Pam, we fly 172. Now, granted, the INS is going to do a lot of this. In the real world, they may be flying this plane. Say I am flying. Maybe the navigation system is hosed and I'm in an emergency and I got to get in here. And it's a day like this. So I got to fly the airplane, folks. So my mind has to be, okay, so we're going to be turning to a heading roughly of 172 degrees. Where's my wind? Where's this? So I can correct in my mind and then make minor corrections to Troy. Make sure Troy's set in here so I'm tracking it. Then make sure I have the ILS set up with the inbound frequency or heading, and get myself slowed down so when I make that turn at Hetsu, I'm at an appropriate speed to be able to control, watching my arrows. That's what the gist of that was, folks. That took a lot. I only had 5 hours in the Bonanza in this course. Whew, they were in the pattern. They were the roughest 5 hours I ever flew trying to get used to this plane, because it's anywhere from 10 to 15 knots faster on approach than what I was used to in the Cessnas, and especially like the Pipers that I flew. So that's why I say you got to stay ahead of your plane. Now I need to start thinking about getting down to 2,500 feet. See how she's automatically doing it? Okay, 3,000, 2,500. Put it on VS. Let's go past a bit steeper and let's go ahead and begin slowing. 220. All right, so we're about to make this turn here for here and then out to here, and then we're on ILS. So when I make this turn off Troy, I'm going to track. Actually, what does the chart say? Let's switch out here. $214. Okay. So we're now in that 4-mile run. I am actually going to come down to 210. Get a notch of flaps down.
Flaps 1.
Make it 2.
Flaps 5.
All right. Hey, we're off the INS. And we need to get on tower frequency. Crap, hang on, I forgot. Okay. 128.25. All right, here we go.
Localizer alive.
And now I'm going to slow to 160. Flaps 10.
Flaps 10. Gear down.
Lights are on. All right, now we're just flying it out. ILS.
Gears down. Green light.
2,500 feet. But again, your setup, you see how you're set up, folks? You got to stay ahead of the game. We got gear down, 3 green or 5 green. Runways in sight. Now, on our chart, we're coming up to Woomont. Which is where we should be, and we are just out. We're a little higher. We should be at 2,200 feet. So we're going to start down on the ILS. And let's slow to 150 for now.
Flaps 20.
Okay, let's go full flaps. Speed
Flaps
brakes
30.
armed. Landing checklist, please.
Landing checklist.
Gear.
Down and check.
Down and check. Flaps.
Flaps 30.
Flaps 30. Ignition.
Flight start.
Anti-skid.
Check.
Altimeters. 1008. Set and cross-check. Landing checklist completed.
All right, airplane is about to become mine.
We'll
1,000.
be landing shortly. Please make sure your seatbelt
Okay,
is
let's
fastened.
ease up on the planes here. Hey, there's that 190 wind playing with us pretty good. Okay, go folks. And
500.
Happies are a little off-centered. That's not where the main landing marks are on the runway, but we're fine. Hey, who said it could rain here? Minimums
Approaching
for
minimums.
landing.
Minimums. 50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
Check reverse.
Yeah, I know. I made no calls.
Out, off, reverse. Auto brake off.
All right, folks, welcome into
60 knots.
MidAmerica Airport. I hope you've enjoyed the ride. I sure did. Hang on a second here. I'll change charts.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our destination airport. Please remain seated until the captain has switched on the fasten seatbelt sign.
And again, welcome. We're going to taxi to the cargo apron here. We're not going over to, well, you know what? Let's go ahead over to Scott. And Scott, MidAmerica Ground, Sim Air Force 18 will be taxiing to the cargo, or to Scott via taxiways crossing 14 left, 14 right. I don't want to get doing what everyone else does. Came very close to it. Hey, let's get caught up here. Lights. Strobes. Ping.
Cabin crew, disarm slides.
Probably shouldn't have done that this early. Hey, let's see what's next. Brake pressure, we need to get that body gear steering. Okay, it is. Brakes off. Ignitions can come off. Again, nice little key there, gets them all real quick. We'll get the engine ice off. And let's go ahead, set this to heading. There we go. And we're good, folks. Flight director's off. Radar and transponder. Be careful with this one because most of VATSIM wants you on stand or not on standby. So make sure your mode C stays on your clients. Flaps can come up.
Flaps up.
7 units. And over here, outflow valve to manual. Aft cargo heat. There you are. Ah, we're taking out all of the airport's taxi lights. Oh, dang it. F cargo heat pressurization, and we got to get the AP. All right. Let's get that AP. Roger, cleared to cross, 14 left to Gulf. Sim Air Force 18. To be honest, I don't know if one of these ever remained overnight at MidAmerica or not. And tower, Sim Air Force 18's clear, 14 left on Gulf. So I hope you enjoyed the flight, folks. It was fun. We just got a little more to go here. Go ahead and clear that off the top. The heck is this? That a hangar? Oh, if it is, that's so wrong. The heck is that? I don't remember it last time I flew in here. It is a hangar. Wow, I do not remember that. Yeah, it's about half that height, folks. That's normally there. And Roger, Sim Air Force 18 Heavy cleared across 1-4 right. I just don't remember that being the structure there. Wow, that's way too big. Basically, it's as tall as a KC-135's tail. And it would notch in right about here and not much higher than that. So again, I hope you all enjoyed Felis 747. For those over at Felis watching, because I know they do, to see how things are performing with the plane, went flawless this time, folks. Turned the auto throttle off, full control of the throttle down, and we didn't have that problem where the spoilers didn't deploy and I couldn't use the auto brakes were not working. So everything seems to be working great, and I appreciate all the help you've given. So thank you so much. Folks, for those parts of this video you've missed, because most of the guys at Felis that are helping and have been helping me on this, trying to figure out why it did a couple weird things, you can always catch, from what I understand, the full video over at our YouTube channel. And there's a whole litany of them. You can watch the ones prior to this with the 747 and what I'm talking about, where you would disconnect the auto throttle and yet it's kind of still on. Why? So that's the issue we've been really plagued with. And that's why it was kind of not flown a lot, because the first occurrence happened in Sydney where I had no auto throttle and it was turned off. And I ended up landing kind of like a 777 did in the real world, short of the runway. That wasn't for that reason. That was because ice, they believed, was clogging the fuel line, and the plane acted like it was out of fuel. It was being starved. Yeah, do the same thing I did. What? Yeah. So That's the conclusion they've come with so far. It's a whole backstory to this thing, folks. It was a long-distance flight involving very cold temperatures in part of it, but things were done to help counter that. Actually, this part's open, but let's go ahead since it's showing here. Use it. What I'm going to be doing, folks, is parking it right here, where most of the large frame aircraft, they either end up here, and I'll show you the other spot here in a second. They actually end up on here too. So but again, that was a good flight. There's some things me as a pilot look at that tell me I should have done a little differently, but beyond that, folks, I really enjoyed. We'll get into the metrics and all of it here once we shut down. And this is where that body gear steering really comes into play to help it in turns like this. And the C5, even the C17, you know, they really do. They do at times get into that. All right, let me get a little bit further. Not much. All right, there we go. All right, we're going to set the parking brakes. This is my only issue I still have. Most VAs I belong with, that I fly this bird with,
After landing checklist.
that doesn't really mean it's on.
Brake pressure.
As soon as we get through
Check.
this, I'll show you what I
Body
do.
gear steering.
Arm.
Outer brakes.
Off.
Ignition.
Off.
Engine and wing anti-ice.
Off.
Radar and transponder.
Standby.
Flaps.
Up.
Spoilers.
Down.
Stabilizer trim.
7 units.
Outflow valves. Open. Pressurization mode selector. Manual. Aft cargo heat. Off. APU. Check. Checklist completed.
All right. So here's what we have to go through to secure the cockpit. But what I do, folks, as you can tell, the parking brake may or may not be set. And so to ensure, I go
Cockpit
here.
to ground. Put the chocks on.
Should I go there right away? It's hard to say, but I'm going to go ahead and do this, do this. I'm going to shut those middle engines down,
Chocks are on.
because most guys would not want to go anywhere near those engines. But he's got the chocks on, so we're good. Index, good. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. I got one more thing I forgot to do. See, we're on the gens. All right, engines off. All right, we are into blocks, folks. So let's run this checklist. You're gonna see it right off the bat.
All right, secure cockpit checklist.
Brakes.
Hold on.
They're set. So again, check.
Beacon lights.
That's on.
Off.
INS.
Align.
Probe and window heat.
Damn. Off.
Back valves. Check. Fuel boost pumps. Let's see. Off. Reserve tank valves. Wait. Closed. Hydraulic panel. Let's see. Check. Oxygen. Check. Flight recorder. Off.
Emergency lights.
Damn. Off.
Radar.
Off.
INS. Off. Radio switches. This.
Checklist completed.
All right, so we're secure now. All right, folks, welcome in here. Whoop, let me do this real quick and do it the other way around. Let's go here and deplane unload. Actually, I think I gotta open E. All right, folks, so welcome to Scott MidAmerica Airport. This is actually Scott Air Force Base. We had a great flight from Offutt in here. You can see I wish, I could put so the plane looks appropriate, but working through all the differences and problems I've been having of late that just kind of came on as they were doing updates. Just trying to keep it as default as possible, just the colors there. So, but again, great flight we had here. Welcome in everyone who's joined us here. Oh my goodness. I just pulled up Sim Toolkit, folks, and hopefully it'll still be there when you see it. Nope, it already went away. Oh, wow. What a flight indeed. That I haven't seen in a long time. Yeah, you see it up here, folks. Here's our flight, 32 feet a minute. Wow, what a landing. I don't even feel like I had a bounce. So wow. So here's the details. Hour and a half flight, 320 nautical miles, 14,000 kilograms of fuel, 1G on the landing at 32 feet a minute. Speed 131, 1 knot short of our intended VREF. That, folks, is how you get these landings. And that's the hardest part, getting it to touch down right when you want, how you want. You don't want to force it down, but sometimes you feel like you have to. All right, so this is the part now that I like over Volanta. Now, Volanta, it's been probably 6 months since last I used it to a year. They don't go this intense on your landing room. And I like that Sim Toolkit does, because you can learn a lot from this, folks. First off, here's your basics to the runway. Me landed roughly 1,700 feet down the runway. This is where the marks really are, right by the glide tower, and your pappies are actually right here. They showed them right here, just so you can see the differences between it all. The other big thing I like, and especially when you're in a wide body like a 7.4, we're only 8 to 9 feet off the center line. Folks, you start getting into the teens and 20s. Ooh, in a wide body, that's rough. In a narrow body, it's not as critical, but it is critical um, because we all want to be right on that center line, right on. I mean, if you can't see these in the air, folks, one, you're in the clouds still, or open your eyes. No, just kidding, folks. But really, this is where we aim visually. The glide path tower for the ILS is right here, and the PAPIs in real world are right here. So it's all gearing you to this mark here. Now you can see where most folks land. Pilots accustomed to this airport know landing this runway. Yes, we shoot for here. If we can't, we do our best to keep it either on the ground by here or by here. There can be some really bad gusts come down this funnel, I like to call it, because you got tree lines on both sides. Now they have pulled back the trees a little bit, so that may help. I don't know. Mainly so the tower can see, but oh my gosh, I've watched airplanes get really wobbly through that little chute. So that's where, knowing your runway helps. Granted, most commercial pilots will only hit this airport a few times. Allegiant guys will hit it more because they're home every night. They go out from their hubs and back home, out from their hub and back. It doesn't go from our hub to here, to here, to here, to here, to here, stay the night, here to here, to here, to here, stay the night, here to here, to here, to here, stay the night, here to here, to here, back home. A little exaggeration, but I think you all get the point. Allegiant, they go from, say, Destin, MidAmerica, turn around, back to Destin. For the most part. There are some times where they might go on to another airport, but come back to MidAmerica, but end up back in Destin, barring problems with an aircraft. So that's really good. You learn the airport, So you can see they're touching down, but boy, I've seen them really squirrely here. So anyway, great flight, great numbers and all, folks. I hope you enjoyed. You know what? Let's give it a try. I know a lot of times it doesn't work, especially with Felis. But let's see what we can do, shall we? And try to replay this for those of you tuning in right now. Okay, let me get over here and button up the plane because it is always
Cockpit
funny.
to ground. Remove the chocks. Cockpit to ground. Connect ground power.
Oh, I didn't mean to do that.
Cockpit to ground. Disconnect ground power.
Chocks removed.
Okay, everything's set, so let's see what happens. Let's take a look outside. Everything seems to be closed up. Let's give it a try. That's all we can do. Fingers crossed. And make sure you come off ATC. Oh, before we do this. Okay, PIREP filed. Yeah, make sure you do that because this could really hose you on your pilot report to your VAs, be it Sim Air Force, be it whatever group you're with. All right, so far, so good. Let's give it a try. I think we might be able to, folks. Oh my gosh, we're going to actually get to do a replay. Oh, wow. Well, let's get some appropriate music. All right, let's Okay, we're still on the autopilot here. There's our runway. I'm going to accelerate us here in a second. Just get my camera ready to see how it looked. Here we go. You'll know when I take over. It'll get a little wobbly. Not really. There we go. There's me on it. Little high here. That's my only thing, but we know we were 1,700 feet down the road. Let's see what 32 feet a minute look like. Oh my gosh, that is... wow. Okay. Didn't do too bad that time. I kind of like it. The Hawker 125, wish I could get into this position. Actually, that doesn't look too high at all. That, wow. Here, let's get a screenshot picture for y'all. Okay, that was actually a really outstanding look. Let's take a look from the co-pilot seat. Really does look like we're high, but we really aren't. Pretty close to right on the... we're showing it on the pappies, but... wow. Nice. And then, of course, X-Plane gives us this great tool here, the replay tool, to see how we did. And we can have fun, too, because here's a nice shot from someone in the cabin. Well, folks, that was a really good landing. Hope you enjoyed. Let's get a couple more shots. Let's get one from the front of the plane. That was really good. Now we're gonna try from the tower. A lot of times I have troubles at military airports with these shots. This one may actually work. Okay, cut those trees down, folks. Look at that. Oh, what a landing. Folks, I gotta say, this was by far one of the best runs in the 747 I've done to date, aside from the landing, folks, aside from that. I mean, everything seemed to be clicking on all cylinders, even though it was a little late on a couple checks and all, but wow, what a great flight. I hope you all enjoyed. Folks, if you're new to the channel, I'd love for you to smash that follow button. That way you can watch and know when we go live next time. This actually was an unscheduled stream. It was meant to happen Monday, I believe it was. And there were reasons why it couldn't happen. But I'm glad we got it in. I hope you all enjoyed. I look forward to seeing you all on future adventures. Tomorrow we're at LaGuardia, La Garbage Can as some call it. headed for Norfolk in the 727 from Piedmont. Hope to see you all there. We're going to try to kick it off at around 11 o'clock at the latest, so I'm hoping to get airborne around 10, or get the stream rolling at around 10. We'll see how that goes, but 11 o'clock we'll shoot for Central Time. That'll be, I'm not even going to try to do the math now, folks, but really a great flight. Let me turn this off, put her back in spot. Wow. And this.
Cockpit to ground. Put the chocks on. Cockpit to ground. Connect to
So,
ground power.
but anyway, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, or 11 o'clock Central. I believe that's 1700 on the Zulu clock.
Ground power connected.
I'm just quick. I don't like summertime, folks, because it makes it hard on me. Oh, it's 1800. Anyway, but yeah, that's what we're doing tomorrow. So I hope to see you all there. And again, thank you so much for coming out tonight. Folks, if you're interested in the chat, is how to see this on YouTube. It'll be up later tonight. If you're interested in flying military aviation in VATSIM, come on over. Check us out at Sim Air Force. We're always looking for pilots. Yes, you have to fly on VATSIM, just because we're a virtual special operations, under virtual special operations agreement to VATSIM, so that we abide by the rules set forth for the ability to do military aviation. That being tanking, LAPE dropping, cargo dropping, air-to-air combat with military aircraft in military areas. We can do all of that so long as you're under a virtual special operations group like Sim Air Force. If you don't, you're actually probably not going to be granted any of that ability. Check them out, folks. We're a really good group simulated here at Air Force, so you know there's going to be a little bit of hoops to jump through, but try to keep it low. So check them out here at icrew.simairforce.com. All right, folks, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you again so much for being with us here on Sim Air Force, flying out of SAC headquarters. Those of you that remember the Strategic Air Command, to Scott Air Force Base. Hope to see you tomorrow. That'll be LaGuardia to Norfolk. Have a great night, folks. God bless you all, and look forward to seeing you tomorrow.